So I hope to achieve 3 things here. First of all, I want to tell you about an announcement that we just made on Monday in Vegas. I just flew overnight to come here because I'm excited to share this with the FinTech audience. And I want you to take away 2 things. I want you to take away why this matters to you, what makes this different, and a couple of opportunities for how you actually can get involved, monetize your offerings, partner with IBM, and I'm going to assume that many in the audience have not done anything with IBM, maybe recently or ever, have not used our tools. Maybe you've heard about our tools, you're not quite sure what they mean, and I'm going to take you through basically building an app in real time here. This is in beta that we launched. So flying without a net a little bit, but we're going to give it a shot. And then I'm going to show you a couple of sample applications that I hope will bring home to you really what the power is of what we're doing. OK, so first the announcement. We announced IBM Cloud for Financial Services. So what this is, the intent of this is to, in addition to IBM selling all of its kind of horizontal offerings, like our analytics and our database as a services and Watson cognitive APIs, we're taking a vertical slice through the financial services industry and taking a very developer-centric approach. Okay, so I am a very long-term developer. I've been coding for longer than I'm going to admit in this room. So I've been in your seat, I've been involved in startups far longer than I've been involved in a corporation like IBM. So what I'm hoping to show is that this is a platform that is built for you guys so that you can, the intent here is not to get into a race over who can spin up infrastructure faster. We have that, and that's great. But I think to the people in the room, what's more important is how quickly can you get an application stood up and into production. And you've probably heard this saying before, but I really think it's true, is that the best line of code that you write is the one that you don't write, because it's guaranteed to have 0 bugs. It has no maintenance costs. There's no documentation, et cetera. So what I'm hoping to show you here is that through a combination of IBM's offerings as well as third-party offerings, this is you guys. Okay, so part of what I want you guys to take away is that we need you and want you to be part of our ecosystem. We want to be partners in this together. And there's a few ways that I'm going to show you how we can help you and we can help each other. A couple of different channels that we can help monetize and maybe get introductions to large companies that maybe you wouldn't have as easy an opportunity to get involved with. So that's part of the overall ecosystem. So let me jump into what the offering looks like. Okay, so this is this is live. It's as I said, it's in beta. But the idea here is that this is Bluemix. So if you have not seen Bluemix before, this is Bluemix, but it's a special finance specific zone. So when you drop into here, you're in the context of saying, I want to build a financial services application. And kind of from this launch page, we give you a few ways to get started quickly. So we can, and I'm going to take you through each of them very, very quickly. So like many developers, one of the first things I'd like to do is take a look at the service offerings. So this is pulling from our catalog that's curated for financial services APIs. And what I'm going to show here is there's a few that we've created ourselves. So the first one here, investment portfolio. This is basically portfolio, a financial portfolio management as an API. If you're like me, the first thing that I want to do is I want to go see the API documentation. That's the best way that I can easily learn what it's all about, right? So it's kind of your standard RESTful API documentation. You could choose different languages on how you want to see those represented. So that's the first thing I do. So I said, okay, great, that's cool. That looks like that's the API that I want to use. I want to point out a couple other things here. So there's a few, these other 4 APIs that we have here, these analytics. What we've done here is we've democratized what it has been up to this point a huge monolithic application called algorithmics that we've had for years. This is pretty much the best-in-class quantitative financial modeling software that has typically been sold like to huge companies. I'm not going to mention the price, but probably more than many startups can afford. But we think that by democratizing access to this and making it much easier to access it through APIs, where you get to pay maybe by the drink or pay by some type of tiered model, you get access to some of these capabilities that only let's just say the big institutions could up to this point. And I'll just give you one quick example. Like we can run a huge Monte Carlo analysis that runs a scenario impact to a portfolio. So you can ask a question like, what's the impact to my portfolio if interest rates increase 2.5%, or oil goes up $20 a barrel? And we run extremely sophisticated analyses, like I said. Now this is all done through an API. It used to take 6 months to get contracted, 6 months to get this installed on-prem. Now literally 2 minutes, you guys have access to it. And then blockchain, as you know, we're a big contributor to the Hyperledger project. So blockchain is also a part of this. So you want to build an app, you want to bring in some portfolio management, maybe it has something to do with blockchain, you could bring that all into an application. These next 5 tiles you see are our first 5 FinTech third parties that are launch partners. So there are some that are, some that are on the startup kind of side of things. This tile here from Paisy, that's actually First Data, which is a huge payments processor. And we have a pipeline. We have about 14 more that are in the pipe right now. We'd love to talk to you to see if you would like to be a member of our marketplace. And let me show you how an example would look like. So one way I could build an application is I could say, oh, wow, look at this great third-party API. I would like to build an application kind of around this API. And again, it's going to work the same regardless of whether it's a IBM offering or if it's a third-party offering. So I'm just going to go ahead and create some project here called Tom. And it's going to start basically creating, the skeleton of an application. So you could see I have this application called Tom over here in the lower left. Now, this is the documentation page for this API. So this is where you would have the opportunity to put your logo, to put your information, and your pricing plans. So you can have maybe a free tier. You can have maybe it's pay by the call. Maybe it's tiered. Maybe it's a monthly. This is up to you. Okay? So this is a great opportunity for you to be able to sell through a digital channel through IBM's marketplace. So that's one way that you can create an application. Another way that you can quickly create an application is through a starter kit. So we have a couple of starter kits here, and this is another area that I really think there's a great opportunity for us to get together and come up with some real cool innovation here. So the idea behind a starter kit is this. Okay, you can go into the catalog and you can kind of, pick the APIs kind of like a la carte. And that's fine, and you can do that. But we're also going to be offering higher level kind of bundles that are complementary or synergistic. And these will be combinations of IBM's APIs, data, your APIs, and maybe they come together to form something that's greater than the sum of the parts. So this example here is called Investment Insights. So this uses some of the Watson, AI capabilities, uses some of the natural language processing, uses some data sources, and it's all to solve a very specific domain-focused problem. And this one, and I'm going to show you actually a demonstration of this, but my point here is that I think I would love to have like maybe different days where we get birds of a feather in a room. Maybe it's payment day, maybe it's insurance day, where we have fintechs from those industries get together and collaborate on how could we, take a little bit of what we do, a little bit of what you do, maybe something that IBM does, and create one of these starter kits. So now, as a third-party developer, I come along and I say, wow, this looks like something that I want to build. It looks like they've done 50% of kind of the hard work. I want to start my application based on this and then add my secret sauce. Now, guess what? If you're one of those components that's in there, cha-ching, you guys start getting deposits in your bank account, which is nice. Okay, so that's the second way to get going. The third way to get going with an application is to create it from scratch. So just real quickly, I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so I'm going to create another application here, and the first thing that I like to do, so you'll notice that we have a very nice kind of like project-based metaphor here. So I'm in the context now of working on an application that I call Tom2, and the first thing I like to do is I like to pick a runtime. So I can come over to the menu here. You could see the suite of runtimes that we have. I'm sure we'll be adding more. My current interest is in Node, so I'm going to go ahead and pick Node. Now, what you can see here is we're very transparent on pricing, so there's no surprises here. By the way, I encourage everybody after this to go sign up on Bluemix for free, no credit card needed. This stuff is free for 30 days, and we're very transparent on what the costs are. Okay, so I've created an app. I've selected a runtime. And if I wanted to just start from there, okay, that's fine. But the real value is going in and starting to add these pre-built services. So I've showed you the finance services. So now I can link these services directly into that project. I also have some other IBM offerings. Some of our data services. I have access to Watson services. And also, I've created a number of services already that are in my account, and I can easily add them. So if I want to add our Cloud NoSQL database as a service, I just simply click on Bind Service. Because Bluemix knows that I'm in the context of my application named Tom, it now has automatically bound that into my application. And then I can continue to kind of compose my application from these components. And then I think the really cool thing is once I've gone through and I've composed my application, I have this big button here, download code, and there you go. Now I have on my local machine because I picked Node, it's my Node project. It's going to be wired up to all those services, and hopefully that's a good start for you that you can start building on. So, okay, so that's what it looks like to build an app. I want to show you a couple of examples of the starter kit. So I showed you a starter kit before that talked about, maybe you didn't get a chance to read it, but it's talking about investment insights. Now you've heard about Watson. What is Watson? So let me show you an example of some real use cases of how we can use this. Now, the key thing here is what I'm showing you is not that this particular application, by the way, the application is really cool. I think you're going to like it. But the point is that this is a showcase to show how easy it is to build applications from these individual offerings. So this application is built from a number of those finance-related APIs, some of our natural language processing, and some of our database capabilities. So I'm going to run this for you real quickly. So the idea is this. Maybe I'm a wealth manager, and I want to understand what is the potential impact to my portfolio of stocks, bonds, et cetera, of a particular news story. Now, this is all real. This is going to run in real time. In another demo, you can actually paste the URL of any news story. But just to make it quick, we have a few that I've already kind of registered here. So I'm going to say, what happens? What's the impact of my portfolio to this story about utilization of blockchain? So this is running in real time. It's running kind of all those services there that I mentioned. It's doing natural language processing on the news story. It ran that simulated stress testing on my portfolio, and using some of the Watson natural language processing. The first thing you see is that it extracted that the sentiment of the article is overall positive. And it drew a correlation of what are the stories, what are the entities, the concepts that are in that article that are most impactful to my portfolio. And in this case, it said that Walmart has the strongest correlation to that story. And then this is this bar chart shows we ran these stress tests, again, using this multi-million-dollar awesome algorithmics package that's now accessible to you through APIs. And we've done some stress tests, and we can see overall that we would get beneficial results to our portfolio is what the simulation generates. And then it goes on to show you some more of the entity relationships. And this part I really like. It builds a graph here of the relationships, and it's kind of like the 6 or 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. This is the article on the right. This is your portfolio on the left, and it shows you the factors that that impacted your article. And what's interesting is that there could be intermediaries along the line that aren't directly in your portfolio or aren't directly in the story, but it could be this person, Timothy Flynn, wasn't mentioned in the article, but maybe he's the CEO of Walmart, and you could see, and maybe he worked at JP Morgan, and you can see that it draws these kind of these correlations. Really cool application, right? But the real I think punchline here is that you can assemble this yourself. And this is a starter kit they're going to give you code for. I have time, I think, for one last quick demo here. So this is a little chatbot that I built, and this is using Watson Conversation and the Portfolio API. So having a very conversational interface, I'm asking my Watson-enabled portfolio manager, how's my portfolio doing today? So Watson Conversation understood my question. I pulled the portfolio data from my Portfolio API. Then I used one of our third-party FinTechs who are in our marketplace called XIgnite to go out and get the market pricing. You see that I'm using very kind of colloquial English here. Watson Conversation is great for kind of extrapolating meaning. So now I asked, okay, remind me what's in my portfolio, what's it worth right now? Again, it goes out to get the market data. Here's my current portfolio. That's not my real portfolio value, so don't hit me up later for drinks. What are my largest positions? This is just an example to show that we can make this multimedia. Okay, and that's just a bar chart of my largest holdings. And then here's where I use that really sophisticated quantitative analysis. What's the impact of a 5% drop in the S&P 500 on my portfolio? Again, this is something that only the largest institutions were able to do, and now you have access to this. The last thing I'll show is, for a little bit of fun, I put some emoji, kind of shortcuts in there. Some symbols that represent the same kind of questions. And again, it's not that this might be the world's greatest chatbot, but this was very simple to build by composing a bunch of these services that we have. That's my time. I appreciate your interest in this. And let's see, maybe I have a quick question here. What kind of companies are you looking to add to your marketplace? Very good question. Thank you. So we do want to have a curation process. So we're kind of taking the Apple approach versus the Google approach. We want to help maximize your visibility, maximize your value in the marketplace, and maximize your revenue. So let's talk. Like I said, we do have a pretty vibrant pipeline right now, but we have some opportunities for the next wave. Come talk to us. I'll be here the rest of the day. We'd love to hear what you have to offer. If you have APIs, if you have data, I love to talk to you. Those are the easiest things to get in.